Hey, friends, welcome to another episode of Not Your Mama's Podcast. The title of this episode is ICAN, Mind and Body. In this episode, we are speaking with Deb Erickson, who is known as a leading neuro trainer for Fortune 500 companies across the world for the last 25 years. Deb Erickson has paved the way for sales professionals and entrepreneurs to utilize the power of neuroscience to shift the internal dialogue, reframe their mindset for success, and create massive shifts in their business. Deb, I am so excited to talk about this, all about the neuroscience, all about massive shift changes in people's lives. But before we dive in, can you please give the audience a little bit more about your background and how ICAN, Mind and Body came about?
Thank you so much for having me, first of all. I have been involved in bringing neuroscience to the world, through apps and training and program. And my kind of specialty is creating neuro tools, right, that begin to shift the mind in a much easier way. So I got involved, really, I would say I was inspired by a high school coach who really taught me about the power of my mind. And through the years, every single time my career stalled or bumped up against something tough, I remembered some of the inspiration, some of the tools, some of the things she gave me, and started studying neuroscience and realized that instead of relying heavily or exclusively on therapy, which I did for 10 years, I worked on my own, all of my own stuff from my childhood abuse. But instead of having that be the only option I had, I could literally rewire my brain. And when I realized that was possible, I dived in, learned everything I could, started working with some of the top researchers in the world, and created tools. Once I created the tools, I was like, okay, I need to give these people what am I going to do? And so I brought them to the community that I had the most experience with, which were people in sales, entrepreneurs. And when I saw the changes in people's lives, I think it absolutely convinced me that we need more of this in the world.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree, because life is a mental game.
Yeah.
And what you think is how you're going to be portrayed in the life is what you're going to receive in life. And
Yep.
basically, what you think is like you're going to set your limits or your boundaries
Yeah.
on what you can
Absolutely.
actually achieve and go after. So,
Mhm.
there's a couple of topics I kind of want to dive into. What about like the mindset and weight loss with
Yeah.
approach?
Yeah. Well, I have been heavy all my life. And mostly it was, all kinds of emotional trauma from, the sexual abuse in my childhood. And when I was in therapy, it was like I got mad about it and I got real about it, but I couldn't change it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was using all these neural tools to help business success, people in business success, one day I'm on a stage, tens of thousands of people in the audience. Somebody raises their hand and says, Deb, would these tools work for weight loss? I'm standing on stage, the heaviest I've ever been. And I had to, I know I turned bright red and I was like, yeah, they really should. And so I went home, I built an entire platform for myself, tools and techniques and practices, lost 50 pounds, never put a pound back on, which is the first time in my life that I've ever used a system other than willpower and discipline and force, right?
Mm-hmm.
I used neuroscience to really rewire my brain, make better choices. And it's been the easiest thing that I've ever done. So once I had that experience for me, then I decided, okay, I got to bring this to the world. And, that's kind of how ICAN, Mind and Body got created.
So, what could someone do today to kind of like switch their mindset? Like, how does
Mhm.
the programming in the brain like affect everything?
Right,
How can we do
right,
some small shifts?
right. So the first thing you got to recognize is that everything you have in your life is a result of the habitual patterns, first of your core belief, then of your thoughts, then of your emotions, and finally action. And what most people do to try to create a change is they run straight to the action and they try to force something to be different. what they don't realize is they're swimming upstream, right? They're going against the current because the current is moving from core belief, thought, emotion, action, result. And so what I would say is anytime you have anything in your life that you've been working at changing and you're frustrated because you can't change it, you hear yourself say that, I just can't figure this out. I don't know what's wrong. In that moment, it should be like, it's like a little flag, right? A little warning flag that says, whoa, there is a core belief here that does not serve you. It's not about whether it's true or not. It's does it serve you? So the first thing I'd say is it's a great question to ask yourself. Does this serve me? This habit, this pattern, this core belief, this feeling, this thought process, is it serving me? And when the answer is no, that's when we want to change it.
Yeah. So how can we use that with self-love and wellness?
Well, here's the thing. True wellness is all about self-love.
Yeah.
And yet when most of us look in the mirror, we have nothing but judgment, right? We don't, this is too much, or this is too little. I don't like this. I can't change that. And, there's a million reasons why that happens, the role models, the media, all of that. But let's just come down to basics, which is most people are never taught self-love and appreciation. So one of my favorite neuro tools is simply this. You're going to step up to the mirror. And I like using a compact, right? Because then you can really get close. And here's what you want to do. Like so close that it's just eyeballs, eyeball to eyeball. And all you have to do is repeat over and over and over, I love you. You are amazing. You're unstoppable. You're incredible. I love you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for everything you do for me, everything you've given me. And as you love and appreciate eyeball to eyeball, there's really no judgment because you're not looking at your whole body with the old patterns. What you're doing is you're looking into your heart and soul and saying, you are incredible. I guarantee you do it long enough, just a few minutes, you'll be bawling because that's the message, right? That you so long to hear.
Yeah. I mean, they always say that eyes are the windows to the soul. So it is, and I love that little trick because I had dealt with a lot of, self-love issues, especially in like my teens. And I did that like mirror therapy, like trying to give myself like, I love you, you're great, you're worth it, yada, yada, all that stuff. But I really like just the eyes. Just focus on the eyes because your eyes are so powerful and you're not judging everything else. Because there were some times I'd look at myself and be like, you are beautiful, but then I'm looking at my pimples on my face or whatever's going on, or, the things I don't like about my body, and I'm just pushing myself through it. So I think that that's a great reminder for people to just start small. Look at your eyes.
Yeah. Well, and you bring up a great point that there's a part of our mind that is the critical self, right? And it's basically learned the language of others. So it listened to the bullies in your life. It listened to the offensive messages that you were given, that you weren't enough, that something's wrong, or that you're too much, you're not enough, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You listen to those messages and then they become your own because they're practiced. Your brain just repeats. So now you are your greatest critic, quite honestly. And so we want to silence the critic, right? I love doing the shoulder things. Kind of like shush. Now, when I hear that voice, I'm like, shush, quiet down, don't need you right now. Yeah, brush your shoulder off, pivot, choose a new thought. And the actual physical engagement of that process changes everything.
Well, I think the first thing too is what you had mentioned is recognize what you're recognizing, recognize the self-critic thought or whatever. Because if you're not even recognizing that that's happening, I think that's the first step that's missing. So you need to acknowledge your thoughts and acknowledge what it is that you're recognizing and the patterns and how they're being triggered. And then you can move forward in shifting and changing that mindset. And it's not going to happen overnight. People need to realize that it's a slow process.
Right. I love what you just said. So let me give you a little trick. The biggest part of the recognition and the awareness You name it to tame it. You learn that in therapy, right? Yeah, this is fear. Here's the big thing is don't put the word I'm in front of it. I'm afraid. What that does is it teaches your brain that you are that feeling. You are, right, that judgment or that criticism. So instead, you simply acknowledge its presence. Fear is present. You can say, I'm having a physical reaction that kind of warns me and tells me that there's a lot of energy going here. And typically that's either I'm really afraid or I'm really excited because I got butterflies. It's okay to go there. But the truth is, it's just so much faster to say, fear is present. And then you can deal with fear because it's separated from you. But when you claim it, I'm afraid, I'm tired, I'm fat, I'm ugly. Now you've just taken it on, right? Like you just put it on. And now you got a whole big process of getting it off.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, words are very important.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to do self-reflection, and you got to be sure to say things that are positive when it comes with I, because I know I am is a very powerful affirmation word, and you got to be careful when you use the word I mean, if I am, powerful versus like, I am fearful, like we got to be careful. So that's a great reminder. Yeah. So how does our past affect our health and wellness?
Your past affects everything. And here's why that is so, because your mind is kind of split up into two categories, right? One is the conscious awareness mind. That's the mind that is consciously paying attention, seeing things, judging things, evaluating things, labeling things. That's where your creativity lives, your passion lives, your drive lives. Desire, right? That's where it lives. But here's the key. It's only active 5% of your day. So when you think about how many minutes out of an hour, right? How many minutes out of an hour are you looking at, having 5%? Well, it's like 53. So most of, I'm sorry, it's the other way around. So it's like 3 minutes an hour is your conscious thinking mind. So the other side of the process is your subconscious mind, which is 95% of the power. This is where your core beliefs live, right? And so in a fight, who wins, the conscious or the subconscious? It's always the subconscious. So yeah, your beliefs are more powerful than your desires. And so what we want to do is we want to understand, here's what's going on right now. And if I am bringing up thoughts, feelings, emotions, core beliefs that don't serve me, then I need to do some reprogramming. I've got to plant in that subconscious mind better language, which is exactly what you were talking about.
Hey friends, I hope you are enjoying this week's episode of Not Your Mama's podcast. This podcast would not be possible if it wasn't for the support of you, my wonderful community. To support Your Mama's podcast, please click the support link right down below, and you can donate just as little as 99 cents. Also, follow me in the Shop Like to Know It app, where you can follow me with all my exclusive content, all the way from baby products I love, fashion and style, and everything in between. Now let's get back to the episode. Yeah. So when people come to you in your program, you give them all the tools and things that they need to help reprogram the subconscious mind.
Right. Because that's where your past memories live. The past, you said, does a past impact you? And yes, that's where all the memories are. That's where all the triggers are. That's where fear lives. And so you want to know
core beliefs too, right? Because you're with all the things growing up around you as an adolescent, you know, like you're not enough, you're too much, then you start adjusting like who you're really meant to be because of all of these outside influences. And then all of a sudden you believe, I am not enough, or I'm a little too much. I need to tame it down. Like people don't like me, and yada, yada, yada. The list can go on. There's so many.
Well, and in 10 years ago, we thought that the brain was hardwired. And in the last decade, we've come to understand that your brain has neuroplasticity, that it's shapeable, it's moldable, right? It can be changed. And now we know exactly how to do it. It's repetition over time with emotion. So if you repeat a pattern enough over a period of time and you get into an emotional state, a big emotional state around it, you have new programming happening all the time, right? So what we want to do is help people identify, look, I don't care how many times you failed to lose weight, failed to find balance, failed to change some kind of wellness routine or habit, you said you were going to go to the gym and you didn't. It doesn't matter how many times you failed. What matters is that in this moment in time, can you see the end result? Can you feel, right? Can you connect to that feeling? Can we reprogram your subconscious mind so it helps you make conscious choices in the now, right? That are going to help you get where you want to go and get there with more ease, get there with more speed too. That's the really exciting thing.
Yeah, I feel like people get a little impatient when they're not seeing the results, and then they go back to that self-criticism, like, I can't change, or this is it meant for me, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I don't know where exactly you're located. Where are you located?
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So but like, Western culture is just all about now, 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 self gratification. And if we go off to venture something and we don't see the results right away, we just give up and we don't work through the problems. We don't work through the mental, boundaries that we have. It's important to give ourselves grace and understand that, like, it's going to happen. It's not going to happen in your timeline, but you got to go through it. You got to practice and you got to be the master at it. And the way to be the master is by failing and just dipping your toes in here, in the water just a little bit. And then you put your whole foot in, and then it's up to the shin, and then it's up to the knee. And then maybe you go back to the shin because there's a block in the road, but you just got to keep moving forward and putting your body under the whole water eventually.
Here's a great tool for that, because you said a mouthful. You said you gotta pay attention to your feelings. So let me really highlight that. Stay off the scale. Stop measuring every other day, right? Stop all of the measurements that they're kind of like gross measurements. They're too big. Instead, we want to measure feeling tones, right? The feeling energy that begins to shift. So as people use some of my neuro tools, what happens? I have them take what we call a SUDS rating, SUDS, SUDS. And it's a subjective unit of distress. You see it all the time in doctors' offices. You come in and you go, oh, I got a chest pain. And they'll say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is the pain? It's subjective. But based on your answer, the doctor knows, ooh, it's a 9. That's pretty intense for her, right? Or it's only a 2. It's not it's heartburn. So, well, you want to do the same thing. So every single morning as you get up, on a scale of 1 to 10, name the emotion. How are you feeling today? And then name the intensity on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 is always high, 1 is always low. How intense is this feeling? What it does is it separates you from the emotion. So you're not owning it as an identity, but more important, as you begin to track this, what you're going to notice is maybe you woke up today and you're measuring your confidence and you're a 2. Tomorrow you get up after you've done the neuro programming, you listen to the neuro tools, you get up tomorrow and you're like, I don't know, I'm a 2.5. That's progress, right?
Exactly.
That's so what people are learning is measure the shift of the emotions, measure the fact that, yesterday you said no to the ice cream when you really wanted it, and you said no once. Yay! You may have given in another time, but you said no once. So it's kind of like we've got to look for the markers in our life that show us true progress, because the results, those are going to come later, like you said. And if you can trust the journey, oh my goodness, how many times have we heard that, right?
I know, right? Yeah. I was like, that's it.
I know, but if you can trust the process and the journey, you didn't get in this condition overnight. You're not going to get out overnight, right? But you can feel whether you are moving in the right direction or not.
Totally. I completely agree. And that's a great reminder to separate the emotions, because I feel like emotions are the most powerful thing. They totally can take
Yep.
over you. And learning how to manage your emotions is on a whole nother scale, like anger or frustration, like it's jealousy, all those things. So I love that. Great reminder. Thank you. So
Yep.
I have 4 questions I ask all my first time guests, and I can't wait to hear what your answers are. So my first question to you is, who and what inspires you?
When I immediately, my first thought is somebody like Oprah Winfrey, big personality making a big difference in the world. And you gotta love that commitment to change, right? Commitment to help people deal with their life. But honestly, my first hero was my high school coach, basketball coach. She showed me how powerful a woman can be when she pays attention, right, to thought management. So I would have to say she was the biggest hero in my life.
Oh, I love that answer. And then my second question is, what is something you wished you knew when you were younger?
I think I wish that I knew that life would have a rhythm, right? That there would be up days and down days, and not to take the down days so seriously. Now when I get triggered, I can just say, I'm not feeling well. I'm a little tired. It's just a trigger. It's no big deal. I'll wake up tomorrow morning and feel different. And I remember in the past, I would hold on to those things so tightly and then tell myself it's never going to work out. And I went negative. I went so ballistically negative instead of just realizing a rhythm of life. Okay.
Exactly. It's all about the perspective, looking at the
Yeah.
glass half full instead of half empty.
Mm.
Exactly. I mean, it's all about like your attitude,
Mm.
attitude
Yeah.
is really gonna change everything for you.
Yeah.
So my third question is, what's the essential part of your daily routine?
Wow, it has to be the morning, because I know that what's happening first thing in the morning is you are setting the tone for your day.
Mm-hmm.
So right out of bed, I'm listening to neuro tools. Right out of bed, I'm setting my intention. I'm saying, this is what I expect today. I'm saying to my body, I'm the boss of my mind, and therefore I'm the boss of my body. Here's what I'm going to do today. Here's the way this is going to go. So I am setting that intention, holding that vision, getting into vibrational harmony, seeing the energy, feeling the energy. When I do that well, my day flows. On
Yeah.
the mornings when I sleep in, I don't get that done.
Oh, I noticed the difference in myself as well. I remember I was on a kick of waking up early and I just had so much more energy during the day. But
Yeah.
then, life throws you stuff sometimes and you got
Yeah.
moves and you're sick or your kids are waking up the time that you want to wake up early. And I
Yeah.
totally know the energy shift and difference when setting up your day
Yeah.
yourself versus waking up
Yeah.
with chaos. So,
Yeah. Absolutely.
and then my fourth question is the best advice you've ever received.
Mm. I've read so many books through the years, but the thing that sticks out in my head is, don't sweat the small stuff. I mean, I know it was a t-shirt, but the key to that is really this: we make such a big deal about little things, and we are negating or avoiding or procrastinating the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
And so the little stuff that occurs, what I've really learned with that is simply like, I see it. I have to ask myself, is this a big deal? Right? Or is this some of the small stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And when I can say this is a small stuff, then I can release it, right? I can let it go, not obsess, not hold on. And then you have to kind of define for yourself, what's the small stuff? Other people's opinion of me, small stuff,
Yeah.
right? Little trips along the way, meaning like I fall and I hit my hit my face in the mud, small stuff, right?
Yeah.
Small that.
Spill the
And
coffee
so,
on yourself in the morning on accident.
right, I get a no, I'm reaching out to somebody I really want to build a relationship with, and I get a no, small stuff. When you realize that the world is really working in your favor and that you can trust a process, it changes everything.
Yeah. Like we just talked about, it's all about the mindset,
Yeah.
Life is such a mental game. And it's like so easy to like shift and think negatively. We have to like really take a step back, take a breath, and notice what we're noticing and try to look at the positive and the silver lining with everything. And then once you start doing it, it's just an easy thing. It just comes naturally.
Yeah. So true. So true.
Yeah. So Deb, do you have any last words before we end today's episode?
Yeah, I want to let everybody know I just created a quiz. They're one of the most fun things. I love doing it, where you can answer a couple questions and it kind of gives you like, here's the personality that type that you are using to try to solve a problem, to try to lose weight, to try to change. And it is just so much fun. It gives you such great results. It gives you free access to some neuro tools. So I just want to let everybody know we've got this fun personality, wellness personality quiz. If they would like to participate, I think you're going to really have a lot of fun and you're going to get a lot of insight.
Awesome. Well, all of Deb's information and the links are down below in the show notes. Don't be shy. Please go say hi. And thank you again for listening to another episode of Not Your Mama's Podcast. And I hope to see you in the next one.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Not Your Mama's Podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one.